no reinforcement of behavior until we're calm, okay? And what I'm going to do is move them up onto the bigger training table because I'm done with bending.
Yeah.
And I'm really not interested in injuring myself any further, so.
Yes.
Good. Now, they are cold. It is colder in here than it is outside, but I mean, these guys are 2 inches off the ground, so, you know, they're going to be a muddy mess. And she is absolutely miserable when she's wet. She will not walk, and she'll fight. I mean, we have these micro prongs on these guys. One, because she's a huge quitter, and it gives her enough incentive to say, I think I'll just do it. It's easier. And this guy, because he can just torque himself up in such a big hurry. And they're doing great on them. I mean, absolutely fabulous on them.
Yes.
The vast majority of our work, for obvious reasons, has been indoors because it's just not, they can't stand on this surface.
Yeah.
It's just too cold, which is why we have them up here. So we're going to have to abbreviate this as much as possible. Now, you are free to take them home today if you want to. If you don't want to, they're free to stay. I mean, it's up to you. Basically, depending on what your comfort level is. Now, in a couple of the clips that you saw, we had choreographed this little squeeze space thing. And the one thing that I wanted to stress, and I think I might have mentioned it, is you have to be proactive. All right, but proactive doesn't mean a tight leash, especially with these micro prongs, because you can really put a hurting on a dog, and you don't want to do that. Your hands are fixed; they don't move. You let the dog figure it out, and once he figures it out, they're like, "Oh yeah, okay." All right. So we're gonna do the greeting thing. We're gonna hoist these guys up and put them on the table. Come here, you little devil. Oh! Our little weenies.
Yep.
We love our wieners.
Oh.
I'll have you know, these guys have actually brought great pleasure to this house.
Yeah.
So now again, I don't know if you have had her knees looked at.
I mean, we do the year, like the every 6 month checkup at PetSmart.
I think she's got some. Oh, PetSmart. I think she's got some orthopedic issues going on.
Yeah.
She is really reluctant to sit to the point to where she'll fight. Now, part of it is because she's a princess, and she's like, you can't make me.
Want to.
Right. But the other part of it is it's very uncomfortable for her to sit in a sit position. He does too. He'll kind of kick himself to one side, which is fine. Long back, short-legged dogs. Anatomically, it's very difficult for them to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you noticed in the videos, it's like, is he sitting?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell. Okay, because there's no place for the back to go. But with her in particular, I would be inclined to believe, based on the structure and based on how bow-legged she is, that we got some orthopedic issues going on. So we haven't been as demanding with sits. All I want is a good stop. She can stand there. I don't care as long as she doesn't move any further forward. Otherwise, she's going to correct herself. And him, for the most part, he'll sit because he knows cookies are coming. The cool thing, the timing is the problem with these guys, okay? And the fact that they didn't have enough of a consequence on the other side for them to be deterred from that behavior. Because they've been working around a ton of other dogs. They live with a ton of other dogs. She is fine. He sees a new dog and he's like, ah! And then after the dog has been around for a while, he's like, meh, whatever. And we have basically been disrupting that behavior with a really forceful, quiet, and getting aggressive as necessary with the behavior in order for him to say, oh yeah, that's right. But I mean, he keeps his humor about it. He knows it's wrong. And when you come down on him, he's like, oh yeah, that's right. We only reward voluntary behavior. We don't lure behavior. And that's the difference. And once these guys figured that out, they were like, oh,
hey.
Okay, yeah. So there's another dog. If I turn and look at you voluntarily, I get rewarded for that.
Yeah.
As opposed to, here's your cookie, come away. Because what was happening is they were actually being reinforced for being aggressive.
Right.
Okay? So now they're being reinforced for making better choices. So we're going to go ahead and get our introduction out of the way. They're both wearing 2 dirty coats.
That's fine.
Come on over and say hi. Again, don't touch until they're calm. They don't have to sit, but they're not allowed to jump. And you're going to tell them off and leave it. Oh, what a good girl. She'll sit for you. You little beast. Good girl. Nice and calm, gets it. And look at him looking at me. That's right, off. I'm volunteering that behavior that gets me rewards. See how that happens? Good dog. And you don't always have to give him a treat. You can simply tell him how wonderful he is off. Good, good. Very nice.
Off.
Okay. And again, see what's happening? See how you're leaning in?
Going to him.
All right, you're moving in, and he's coming at you.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is telling him what
It's
you
okay.
what you don't want him to do. Off, 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 off. All right, but you're not reinforcing that. As soon as he makes off, good dog. All right, you don't have to pet him in order to reward him. If there's a risk that he's going to come up at you, no, off, leave it. Good dog, remotely. All right, both of them love attention. Off. But they have a tendency to get a little too rough with it. Quit. That's enough. And basically what you want to do, especially with him, you just got to slow him down.
Yeah.
All right? So don't reinforce that overly aroused behavior. When he's calm, there's my guy. Good boy. And the thing is basically even though they're brother and sister, they're competitors for the same resource. All right? He gets really, really annoyed when she gets attention.
Oh, yeah.
So what we do is, again, leash and collar management, which this is something that's going to go home with them, okay? When he acts like an adult, he's on a leash, because he has to work right next to her.
Mm-hmm.
You control him while you're, administering to her.
Yeah.
And same thing. She really doesn't have a whole lot of interest in what happens as far as his outcomes go, because it's all about her.
Right.
All right? But basically, he just gets totally overly aroused
Oh, yeah.
when she gets any attention, treats, or anything. Oh my God! Oh, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
The only time she gets upset is when he was in the house, in the main part of the house. No one's ever outside without supervision. She's in the kitchen in her crate, and he's in the house.
Oh, running around.
And she's like, ah! But then when he's crated and she's out, he doesn't say a word. He doesn't really care all that much.
Interesting.
Yep. So now, the one thing that we haven't been able to address, obviously, is having them at large in the house while you leave.
Mm-hmm.
My advice at this point is simply crate them before you walk out the door. Even if it's for going to take the trash out or something like that. So, excuse me, so that you don't have neighbors complaining. One of the other things that I recommend is set it up so that you can bust them for barking. And, again, they're loose in the house, and you're going to pretend like you're leaving, and then you hear them scuttling at the door, and you're just going, what? Okay, so they're like, oh, God. And they understand that big, ugly correction. Do it on a weekday when no one's home, so that your neighbors don't think, yeah, okay, this is psychopath.
Yeah.
But basically, and you can create noise disruptors. You can actually set traps up, because I would be inclined to think that these guys are hitting the door when they're barking.
Yep.
So what I would do is set up noise traps as a deterrent. So they hit a device that makes a big noise or drop something in front of them so that they have a tendency to say, oh, I don't think we'll do that. Because they're not stupid dogs,
Yeah.
which is their problem. They have you really well trained. Good dogs. Now,